Hi there, my name is Nia and welcome to Candor's Office Hours. Today we're going to talk about referrals, specifically how to use referrals to get hired faster and more reliably than online applications. In 2020, the job market has changed dramatically. It's not even the same as it was last year. And so a lot of the same techniques we've been using, things like applying online, looking at the company website for jobs, they're not effective anymore. Companies don't even have adjustments after COVID on what jobs are still up on or not. So the best way, a surefire way to get into a company is doing referrals right. And today we're going to cover Referrals 101. This is our basic office hour where we'll talk about how referrals work, how to make yourself really attractive for someone referring you and get hired faster. We also have a more advanced version of this office hour that talks specifically about how to get hired at companies that see a lot more volume. So think companies like Facebook or Apple, essentially FANG. So today, make sure you have your notepad, you have your coffee or tea, something to write on. We have a pretty dense hour ahead of us, and I'm excited to be spending it together with you. My name is Nia. For those of you who are attending one of our office hours for the first time, I'm one of the co-founders of Candor. And here at Candor, we do salary negotiation for high-skilled professionals, primarily folks who work in tech. The way Candor works is you could try us risk-free. You don't pay us anything unless we increase your offer, and working with us is completely discreet. We work under NDA. We've helped hundreds of people get a better offer, and mostly folks at top companies like Google, Airbnb, Amazon, Stripe, Facebook, just to name a few, but also at smaller startups. Most of our clients earn $50K or more on their offer, and we're more than happy to chat with you for free. You could set up a time anytime on candor.co to chat with someone on the team about whether your offer is competitive. A little bit about what we're doing with these office hours and what resources exist for you. We started this as an effort to help folks who are affected by COVID because we saw that this was really ravaging our own community here at Candor. As you know, it's been really tough in tech. A lot of folks that have been laid off, a lot of folks are looking, but job postings on average have not been updated for many, many companies. And so a lot of times when you're applying, you kind of don't even know if the job exists anymore. So we created a few free resources. One of those resources is the office hour that you're part of right now. There's a few more. There's the hiring freezing list on the left, totally free to use. It's a crowdsourced resource of 7,000 companies, almost 8,000 actually now, 7,700, that is indicating which companies are hiring and which companies are not hiring. You can also filter it by location, size of the company, industry, and if you are in the job market right now and you can confirm whether someone's hiring or not, please leave us a tip so everyone else in the community can benefit from this. And on the other side, we have the layoff hiring list. This is what's called a recruiter sourcing list. We have about 400 recruiters working off of this list to find candidates for their companies. And these are primarily from FANG. So we have a ton, and I mean a ton of recruiters from Facebook, Google, Amazon, Salesforce, Microsoft, and a ton of other companies like YC Combinator, companies from the last couple of batches that are using this to source. And sourcing simply means that recruiters and hiring managers are looking for you versus you applying for jobs. This list is especially for folks who have been affected by a layoff, but if you feel like your job might be in jeopardy, or if you're finding it really tough in the market right now, you're more than welcome to get your information on here. We'll help you with your resume and your LinkedIn. Just pop into the office hours that deal with those topics, and then get ready for a lot of recruiter calls. A lot of folks have already gotten offers from here, and there are hundreds of cases where people are actively interviewing, and we hope this could help you as well. Again, it's completely free, both for you and for the company. As we move along, there are a lot of things that we'll cover today in office hours, and we don't typically record our office hours, but sometimes we do high-level summaries. So if you're interested in looking at a few of these, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel that has these for free. And we also have some other resources there like PM interview for Facebook tips. We have a recap of some of the office hours. We have tips on how to fix your LinkedIn. We have job market updates. Generally, whatever is important for the community to know, or kind of a high-level FYI, we'll post this to YouTube. So please subscribe and watch, and we'll keep piping up content for you. And lastly, if you do need a little bit more help in your search, or you just have questions about your career and you're not sure who to ask, we created our private LinkedIn group, and it's totally free to join as well, but we do review applications. So you'd have to apply, someone reviews your application, and typically in a week or so, if you're approved, you can join the group. And what happens in this group is we give folks one-on-one advice and help. So for instance, there are classes you can sign up for free interview help. There are LinkedIn reviews. There are job referrals. So there's opportunities to get referred into specific jobs. We post these a few times a week. Resume reviews, career resources, stuff like that. And we've curated this for folks who are in tech. So one of the kind of criteria to be accepted to the group is that you are either aspiring to be in tech or already in a tech role, like an engineer, data scientist, or product manager. All right, well, let's talk about referrals. This is our topic of the day. So the truth is that applying online doesn't work anymore, especially not in 2020. And there's a lot of reasons for this, but let me give you the perspective from someone who's a hiring manager. When you apply for one of these jobs, usually you will get hundreds and hundreds of applications. And as a hiring manager, you only have so much time on your hands. So once all of the applications come through the ATS, in the first couple of days, hiring managers are super attentive, go through every single application that comes in. But after a day or so, you kind of have enough people to call back. And you start calling those people back, inviting those who are great for interviews, and kind of kickstarting your process. But in reality, some of these job openings stay open for months, sometimes even a year. And so the role could have been filled already, or people could be at the last stages of the interview, and you simply don't know that looking from the outside. Another big thing that's going on is because of COVID, a lot of companies have changed their hiring policies. Some are only hiring for essential roles, which is called a hiring freeze. Some are not hiring at all. But a lot, and I would argue most companies, have not reflected that on their websites, have not reflected that on their LinkedIn. And so while it might be easy to put an application in, chances are the job may not even exist. And so these are just two of the reasons why applying just doesn't work. And it doesn't mean to say that it never works. Of course, there are people that still get callbacks from these applications. But here we're optimizing for you getting called back fast, getting called back now, getting called back like this year. And so a big thing that we want to do is really lean on techniques and things that you could do that optimize how you use your time. That's why we're really going to work on referrals today. So what we'll cover is, how do you optimize for getting referred places? How do you build a personal brand? Who and what to ask for when you ask for a referral? How to reach out to people cold, and how to write a personal blurb. Again, this is our 101 workshop. It's not going to dive in how to deal with specific companies, but we'll do that for sure in our advanced section. So once you've completed this and we can verify you've attended, you will get an invitation to attend the next one, which is the advanced one. All right. Another truth that we need to talk about, because a lot of you love ATS, you have to stop trying to optimize for ATS. You have to start optimizing for your personal brand. Keywords will only get you so far. At some point, a person has to read your resume, or a person has to actually talk to you. And realistically, a lot of these kind of over-optimized resumes, over-optimized applications are simply not attractive to someone who ends up reading them when you finally reach a person. So what I see a lot is that a lot of you put enormous effort and care and research and time into just picking the right keywords. But unfortunately, that sometimes makes your application unreadable or unappealing when it finally gets through. And so one thing that you could do to really get yourself in a much, much better position to get hired for these jobs is instead optimize for personal brand, optimize to how you would appear for an employer. So when they do finally find you for all of the efforts that you've put in, you have a very, very high chance to get a callback or the referral that you're looking for. So how do you do that? First, let's talk about your stack. This is what you absolutely need to have when you are applying for a job in 2020. So everyone ideally is looking for referrals right now. That's why it's in red. I've highlighted it because this is just a way to go. And everything in yellow, all of us need to have that. So you need to have a strong intro blurb ready, a polished resume, and a really strong LinkedIn. In white, we have two additional things. So having a clean GitHub is great. Having a relevant portfolio, if you're like a designer or data scientist, also great, really important. It could also be something like a personal website. But everything in yellow, you cannot afford to do that less than perfect. And referrals, again, they're in red for a reason. We're really going to lean on that as a technique of getting you through the door. One important thing to remember as we're starting now to really talk about how you look to others is you need to be consistent. A lot of times your LinkedIn resume blurb, they don't say the same thing, and they absolutely need to have the same message about what you do and the same message about who you are. And this is really crucial because ideally what we're really optimizing for here is trust. And when you're asking someone to refer you, you're asking them to trust you that A, you won't embarrass them, that you'll actually be great in the interview, and B, that you'll really do well at the job because it's kind of on them. They brought you in the company. And so if somebody looks you up and for some reason you don't look trustworthy to begin with, you will never get referred anywhere. And trust is sometimes stuff that's like, all right, well, that's like a big thing to work on. So for instance, let's say that you asked for a job as an engineer and I look you up and everywhere it says you're like a designer or a data scientist. So just communicating very, very consistently is key and incredibly important to getting the outcome that you want. A simple way to do that, and it costs you absolutely nothing, is just to have a little bit of polish. And small things here have a lot of mileage. Everyone wants to refer someone who will make them look good. Really internalize that sentence because what you're asking for and what you're saying when you're asking for a referral is, if you give me a chance, I will make you proud. If you give me a chance, I will make you look good. If you give me a chance, you'll be known as the person who referred me, right? That's what you're trying to really instill. Instead, I see a lot of people asking for favors, like, could you help me? No, it's like, give me a chance and I will do X for your reputation. That's the trade-off here. And so simple things, we talked about having a professional photo, and it's not something that you need to pay for. It could be something that you put together yourself. There's a website called remove.bg. It's completely free to use. You could take any photo of you that you really like, put it through there. It'll remove the background for you. You could pop it on a solid background, pop it on your LinkedIn. That's all it takes. It's not complicated. It'll take you 5 minutes. There's absolutely no excuse not to look professional in your photo. Next thing is have a simple, nicely designed resume. So when you do get a yes, green light, go on that referral, a lot of times I see referrals fall flat because then you send like a 19-page resume that no one has the time, energy, or effort to read. And you either get stalled because the person feels like, all right, well, I should at least read this before I submit the referral. Or it might raise a red flag and you might not get referred at all. And having a nicely designed resume is as simple as using a few simple fonts. And we show that in our resume workshop, so feel free to pop into that one. There's a ton of free fonts on places like Google Fonts that you could use. Playfair is a really great example. Lato is a really good example, and I'll link them below for you as well. And then the last thing we should remember when we're asking for a referral is credentials. Again, a referral is a trust transaction. It's necessarily asking someone, hey, will you trust me to be good at this job? And a lot of times we build trust by credentialing. So it may be that you went to a good school. It may be that you worked at a good company before. It may be that you have people in common. So don't underestimate that. A lot of you are not getting referrals because you do not have the right type of credentials. And so a simple truth to remember and really lean into is if you do not have the right type of credentials, so for instance, you haven't worked at a big company or a name brand company before, it will inherently be harder for you to build trust with people when you're asking for referrals. However, it's not at all impossible. It is absolutely doable. It's just a little bit different for you. It's just a little harder for you. Lean into that. Make sure that you're going into that eyes open and that you're really owning your experience. Don't pretend that it's as easy for you as it is for someone else. Sometimes it isn't, and that's all right. It's still going to be a really valuable and it could be a super positive experience if you approach it with the right attitude. Hone your pitch. Make sure you are really able to succinctly, and I mean really briefly and quickly, articulate what it is that's unique or interesting about you. This is really critical to getting referrals. People won't refer you just to refer you. Even if there's, a money cash bonus at the other side, people still want to be able to look good referring people in the organization. And another way to really kind of overcome not having traditional credentials is to be able to really talk about yourself very confidently and illustrate what about you is really, really interesting. And actually, kind of talking about your pitch a little bit more, I'm going to expand a bit on some of these credentials. So there is such a thing as having a bad credential. Believe it or not, it's kind of an oxymoron, but it is something that I want to spend time on. So if you have a lot of these Udemy, Coursera, or like LinkedIn Learning or other courses that are littering your LinkedIn profile, be a little bit wary of them. Be wary of certifications where you have to pay to become a product manager, or pay to become a data scientist, because hiring managers often view those as a red flag. I know that you have the best intentions and your heart is in the right place when you're spending time, money, and effort developing your skills. However, just be cognizant that to someone on the outside, someone who's trying to hire you, that's looking for very traditional credentials, this might actually be a bit of a red flag. It could be a bit of a setback. And it's not because, these places are worse than going to a certain school or having a certain employer. Not at all. Don't get me wrong. It's because when you take classes that are not advanced at those places, it could make you appear as more junior than you are. An example here, if you take a communication one-on-one class on LinkedIn Learning, or if you take like a data science one-on-one class, and then you go and apply for like a data science manager job. So because the classes you're showcasing or the certification you're showcasing are just more basic and more entry level than the job you're going for, there's a big delta there between what you want and the perception of you other people have. So just be mindful of that. And the last kind of most important thing before we start getting very tactical here is network relentlessly. And when I mean network, a lot of folks kind of think of going out, grabbing a cocktail after work as networking. That's not what I mean at all. Networking means being known for something very specific and creating and propagating content around that. Content is really, really important for you. Content here is absolutely king. You need to have a very consistent cadence of what you post on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook groups, or other communities that you're a part of. And people need to know you as the person that X. Make sure that you also spend time helping others before they help you. So there's a lot of threads in Slack groups, Facebook groups, etc., where people really support and help each other. And when you offer help and then ask for help right after, you're much more likely to get it. Ideally, if you're looking for a job right now, if you're in the market, you should be spending 5 to 10 hours on this, solely on content and sharing things in social network that will help other people understand what you're about and have people engage with your content. That's the best way to then engage with them. An example of how to do this successfully would be if you post something on LinkedIn, every time a person likes your post, it gets shared with their network as well. So if you have 1,000 people you know on LinkedIn, someone likes your post and they have 3,000 people that they know on LinkedIn, all of a sudden your reach increased by 3,000. 3,000 additional people saw what you posted or what you wrote. And that could be incredibly powerful for you if you're writing things that are in your niche, if you're in a highly technical field and you're writing things that could be interesting to other people, even if you're not technical and you're writing things that are career-oriented or sharing content that's career-oriented that a lot of people could relate to. We've created a ton of this content at Candor. You're welcome to reshare any of it. It's widely applicable to folks in tech. But I also really encourage you to create your own and put your own thoughts down pen to paper, because it will really, really help you network. Anytime someone engages with your post, that's an opportunity to message them and start a conversation. And that is much better and much easier to do than coming into the conversation completely cold when someone doesn't know you and doesn't have an impression of you.